So I don't know if they've saved the best for last or not, but I understand we're under real-time restraints here, so I'm not going to do too much extra. You all know who I am by now, but I want to tell you a little bit about our advocacy association. We are a Canadian national group that was seated in 2002 with just a very few numbers of patients that had a meeting. I think there's maybe 20 patients there. And from that it developed, and the internet was becoming more viable, and we connected over the internet and developed a conference. We were nothing at that point. We were just a group of interested patients who had convinced a couple of doctors to help us. And we had a conference with 350 people, which was just mind-blowing. So after that conference, we actually had our first board meeting and came up with a name. So it continues as a volunteer-driven organization of patients and persons from across Canada with an interest in SLL and CLL. So in Canada, you have to register as a patient group, and there's basically three groups that we can register with. CADIF is the overall group of provinces that recommends funding. INES serves only Quebec, and Ontario also will allow patient submissions depending on what the drug is. So we have the opportunity to give up to 3 submissions. Now, fortunately, we can generally use the same submission with a little bit of modification. Often we will work with a partner when we're doing this. It just allows us to reach out to more patients, and it's helpful to share the work because they're about 8 pages long, the submission that we have to make, and it can be very time consuming. So drug approval in Canada starts with Health Canada. They would be like the FDA, but they are responsible for those products and their safety, whereas the FDA really doesn't carry that. They approve the drug based on safety, but if something goes wrong, Health Canada is responsible. And the thalidomide issue of the 50s was, that was a big thing for us. So where we put the input in is at CADA, the Canadian Agencies for Drugs and Technology in Health, and the Quebec version. Once those agencies have said, yeah, we recommend this funding, it then goes to the Patent and Medicines Price Review Board, which is a legislative committee of the government, and they say, okay, yep, they've said you can get this funded, and they tell the farmers basically what price they are allowed to determine. And they do this because they have a basket of about 7 countries that have similar socialized medicine, and so they feel that they are good comparators. Now we have a situation right now where they have just changed the legislation to take the US and Switzerland, 2 countries that have very high drug costs, out of the basket. And there's a coalition of pharmaceutical companies in Canada that are suing the federal government because they say they don't have the right to control that price. So it's going to be an interesting outcome. So from there it goes to the Pan-Canadian Pharmaceutical Alliance, which includes all of the provinces. Again, they hash out the prices with the pharma companies. And finally it goes to the provincial ministries of health, who are funded by the federal government. But the provincial ministries actually have the ability to determine what they are going to fund because, they have to spread the money far and wide. So as a group, we have made 11 submissions to CADA, PCoder, since 2012, and that's the maximum number that have been up for review. We've done 5 to the Quebec group, INES, and 4 to the Ministry of Health. And we've worked with either Lymphoma Canada or the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, as well as just doing them on our own. So with the patient surveys, we use SurveyMonkey, and we use the paid version because the unpaid is only 10 emails. So, but you can do this either on a yearly basis or you can do it on a monthly basis. So you don't have to commit long term to this. And it's a fairly easy platform to to work. We distribute it to our membership, our partners' membership. We rely on people like Nick to distribute it, Health Unlocked. We just distribute it wherever we can. Blogs, social media. We use all the connections that we have. And what are we looking for? So we have general questions for CLL and SLL patients, and then we have extra questions for those who have actually used the drugs. We usually have a separate survey for care partners because they want that information too, and it's an important part of our submissions. And occasionally we've expanded our surveys to include quality of life questions. And we haven't done anything like publishing them, but I've used them in presentations to pharma and other presentations. So it's helpful information. Again, we're limited by the volunteers that we have. So you're not going to be able to read this very well, but PCoder actually provides great patient information. So as a group, we need to use that, and you can use that too. It's publicly available, and I'll give you the websites. So first of all is the gathering of the information. They want to know, who you are, where you got your information, where know the experiences that patients have with this cancer, not necessarily the drug, but the cancer, and then they want to know the impact of that cancer on the caregivers. The next section is on experience with the current standard of treatments. So again, not the drug, but the other drugs that are out there. How are patients faring on them? Are they meeting their need? And then the expectations of the new treatment. So this is the one that we target to just the people, the expectations for the new treatment. Do we think this drug is going to be better, basically? And then the experiences with the new treatment. So that's the group that has used the drug. And often it's a small number. We have made submissions with as few as 17 people that use that drug. So it doesn't need to be hundreds of people that have used these drugs. Keep that in mind if you're ever in the process where you have to do this. So why do we do it internationally? Well, we've got 40 million people, or almost 36 something. We're really not that big a country, and we're very widespread. So that does affect our ability to get information. There are fewer clinical trials in Canada. We just don't have the population. And we feel that the international collaboration is important, just like, the CLLAN organization is important to be able to have that cooperation. But we do find that having an English-only survey limits who will reply. I don't know how to get around that. I don't know if anybody has any other ideas, but.
Couple minutes.
That's all. Hey.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say to you is don't reinvent the wheel. There are lots of things available out there for you if you're planning on doing this process or have the opportunity to do this process. And other groups are willing to help you. So these are a couple of the websites that you'll find useful. They're basically www.cath.ca, and if you go in there, you'll find those hard-to-read charts I gave you, as well as other patient and community engagement information. You can see the template that we have to use. So even if you're involved in developing some sort of HTA stuff, this is a really good website to use. Okay, 9 minutes.